Alright, my name is Amir Gadiri, and I am on the negative side. I am against legalizing prostitution in California. I do have three main points, starting with I will go over the negative effects during the time one is a prostitute, the negative effects after one buys a prostitute, and the negative effects after one leaves a life of prostitution. So, to begin with the negative effects during the time one is a prostitute. There are sex crimes and murder. Prostitution already has a negative effect on our communities. Everyone hears on TV about sex crimes, rape, battery, and murder of prostitutes. Simply put, this is in large part due to the fact that prostitution allows communities and the Johns that purchase the prostitutes to objectify them. They objectify women because of prostitution. Laws.com in 2015 says, men who participate in buying a prostitute view women as a whole as mere sex objects and not human beings. And moves forward explaining how this objectification is much of the reason for the high occurrence of violent crimes against prostitutes. Thankfully, since prostitution is not legal in California, we are not seeing the full potential of how devastating this mentality can be on not only crime rates in individual communities, but the mentality and well-being of society as a whole. Another negative effect of during the time one is a prostitute is drug use. AlcoholRehab.com in 2008 compares drug use with prostitution, showing that they are linked and oftentimes go hand in hand. I quote from AlcoholRehab.com, "Drug use is intrinsically linked to prostitution. 85% of all prostitutes are drug users. This is for three reasons. One, drug users, instead of getting the help they need, turn to prostitution to finance their habits of drug abuse. Two, in a life of prostitution, most find themselves turning to drugs as a coping mechanism, a way to numb the pain and continue on the streets. And three, I quote once again from alcoholrehab.com, a prostitute will be forced by a pimp to take drugs to ensure that they do as they are told and have sex with people. According to justice.gov in 2010, the economic cost of drug use on society is immense, estimated at nearly $215 billion per year. This is incredibly higher than any amount of revenue that prostitution could generate to make up for its influence on drug use alone, with no way to make up for the other negative effects aforementioned in my earlier argument regarding the increase in sex crimes and murder guaranteed to come as a result of legalizing prostitution. Negative effects after one buys a prostitute. It goes without saying that life after prostitution has negative and harmful psychological effects on the prostitutes themselves. According to CERC and Melissa Farley of prostitutionresearch.com in 2004, women who prostitute describe it as paid rape and slavery. The unfortunate reality is that we typically accept this. We consider it the cost of doing business. What most people don't take into account, however, is that these negative effects are not limited to the prostitutes themselves, but more so those who choose to objectify themselves to prostitutes and their helpless families left to cope with the aftermath. Disease, divorce, families torn apart. For what? Come on, people. These negative effects are already devastating thousands of households throughout the state of California, and that's without it even being legalized. Can we even fathom how much more widespread these effects will be if prostitution is legalized, regulated, and ultimately easier to achieve? Now, the negative effects after one leaves a life of prostitution. I quote from former prostitute Bethany James in 2013. On the surface, the industry had been kind to me, but underneath, it had been very damaging and extremely unhealthy. I had no idea how to have a conversation with someone who wasn't in the business. To make matters worse, Bethany was actually one of the lucky ones. She described her previous life as a prostitute to be one of luxury, but now is forced to cope with what she calls complex PTSD. The point here is that former prostitutes, successful and otherwise, all once thrived off what they perceived as social validation. But many find that moving from such a life of false luxuries to a normal life can be extremely difficult. Adult entertainers are taught to believe that the life they lead is normal, accepted, etc., but quickly learn after leaving the industry that this isn't true. They find that they're rejected, not considered normal, and socially rejected and judged. These detrimental effects could have existed during prostitution as well, but are much more pronounced after leaving the industry. This is because they were previously surrounded by others in the industry, masking the opinions of the general population. Unfortunately, after leaving the industry, they're surrounded by the general population, also known as those who object prostitutes as sex objects, and strip them of their humanity. They're not regarded like normal people leading a normal life, and often find it impossible to fit in. This is detrimental to their personal lives, and most find it difficult or impossible to maintain a relationship or get married. Statistically speaking, leading such a life in which one finds them socially unaccepted and unable to fit in, will lead to long-term mental instability and negative effects such as depression, including suicidal thoughts or actions, anxiety, making them an unstable danger to others in our society, and rebellion, in turn spiking crime rates throughout California. Thank you.